Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to ARM for inviting us to this presentation. Again, we're pleased to be here. So we're going to give you a little bit of background on Histogenics and make sure. There we go. Before we get started, we are a public company. We will be making a number of forward-looking statements, so I would direct you to our SEC filings for any of the statements that we're making today. So Histogenics is a regenerative medicine company, and we're looking to change the way that patients, physicians, and our payers are thinking about knee cartilage repair. This is an enormous problem. We hear from orthopedic surgeons on a regular basis that cartilage is the holy grail of orthopedics, and we think we're going to be able to change that by developing a living piece of cartilage tissue that will improve patient recovery as well as long-term and overall recovery dynamics. We have a lead product, which is called NeoCart, currently in phase 3 clinical development. We are going head-to-head against the standard of care, which is microfracture. Many of our competitors have talked about many of the challenges of that particular procedure, and we think we're going to come up with a number of better recovery and long-term durability characteristics based on our therapy. This is an enormous market in the United States. There are 500,000 procedures each year. This is many of those in the room. These are the weekend warriors. These are not our parents or grandparents. These are folks that have had either acute or repetitive trauma with these injuries, and it creates debilitating loss of function and pain. We think that there is a significant opportunity that grows from that. There's probably 1.2 million scopes each year. So due to the lack of good therapies, there are a number of patients that are sitting on the sidelines opting not to have a treatment alternative. We control all of our manufacturing and are planning to launch this commercially on our own. We have attractive gross margins. Reimbursement is in place. We intend to leverage much of the work that our competitors have done. And we're not stopping there. We've got a long patent portfolio. We have patents out to 2030. There's 65 global patents, 45 in the United States, which really cover the entire paradigm of making knee cartilage tissue. And that creates a number of opportunities, because if you can fix cartilage in the knee, you can fix that in other parts of the body. So we're not stopping there. Evidence of that is a partnership that we put into place with Intrexon about a year ago. One of our goals is to create potentially an allogeneic one-step source of cells for future therapies. The ability to create an off-the-shelf opportunity for patients further increases the opportunity to expand and allows for patient demand to be managed. We have a new management team in place with a blue-chip group of investors that see the opportunity here and have supported the company not only over the last couple of years, but in our recent IPO as well. So NeoCart itself is an innovative platform therapy, and we are creating new cartilage tissue that is different from anything else that our competitors are putting together. You're going to hear a lot about cells and scaffolds. All of those are relying on the body's process to hopefully differentiate into hyaline articular cartilage. We're doing something entirely different. We are taking the patient's autologous cells, putting that into a proprietary scaffold, and engineering that to create a piece of living tissue with all the biomarkers of cartilage prior to implantation. That allows for a much quicker recovery and much better long-term treatment parameters. We're currently in a phase 3 study. This is regulated as a biologic. We have a special protocol assessment in place with the FDA. We're anticipating completing enrollment of this clinical trial in summer of 2016. With our one-year primary endpoint, that puts us out into summer 2017 for a BLA filing, with potential approval in 2018. We have very compelling phase 2 data where we showed statistically significant clinical improvements over not only baseline, but the standard of care as well. So our goal is to leverage that strong technical foundation in biomaterials and in cell therapy and bioengineering to create a leading regenerative medicine platform focused initially on orthopedics, in cartilage repair, but then also on other musculoskeletal treatment areas. So this gives you a sense of the NeoCart product itself. What we do is start at the left-hand corner with a standard biopsy in the surgeon's office from a non-weight bearing area of the knee. We're taking about 200 to 400 milligrams of tissue. We're then shipping that to our facilities in Boston, Massachusetts, where we're making NeoCarts every day. We're making tissue unlike anyone else in the industry for a clinical trial, and we expect to be able to commercialize that at a large scale. What we then do is isolate out those cells, standard cell isolation techniques. What we're doing is reducing the cells to a juvenile phenotype, and then we're expanding that out before we seed that into a proprietary type 1 collagen implant. So we're basically recreating the same host environment where cartilage cells will initially grow. As an adult, there is no propensity for cartilage to heal itself. We take everything back to its juvenile state, put it into the same host environment, and seed the cells into that scaffold. The scaffold is unique because it has vertical columns where cells will normally stack up to make cartilage. So the cells will see that as a host environment. After that, we put it into a proprietary bioreactor. Think of this as a knee simulator where we're effectively walking the implant for about a week in the same hydrostatic conditions that you have in the knee. And from there, what you're doing is upregulating the management and the development of matrix, which turns into cartilage. After continued growth in static culture, what you end up with is a cartilage implant. It looks like a contact lens about 2 millimeters thick that is demonstrating all the biomarkers of cartilage prior to implantation. It's shipped to the physician. They will trim the implant, and then it's implanted with a proprietary adhesive. This is a 30 to 40-minute procedure skin to skin, very easy for physicians to do. And because we've already made cartilage, not relying on the body to eventually make it, the best thing for the patient to do is get back on their feet and start walking. That integrates the cartilage, providing much better recovery dynamics. So we think the benefits of the NeoCart therapy are several. First, you're going to have improved efficacy. That's not the real story. We think that long-term, this is going to provide the durability. We're going to show significant improvement. The accelerated patient recovery is going to be a dramatic difference from many of the therapies that are out there today that are highly reliant on a robust recovery paradigm, several months of therapy, and in some cases 12 months before you're back to your normal, let's say, running or playing soccer self. We believe that with the NeoCart therapy, because you're able to recover so much more quickly, patients will be back on their feet, better quality of life, and less cost to payers. On the right-hand side, you'll see a picture from our phase 2 study. We had a patient that actually tore their meniscus at 2 months. They were doing yoga, and we had the benefit of going back in for a second look, and we were able to see that the cartilage had integrated nicely. That's not actually the story. When we tell physicians about this, they stop for a moment and they say, well, wait a minute. My microfracture patients, which is the current standard of care, or some of the other competitive therapies out there, they're not doing yoga at 3 months. At 12 months, we are seeing that the competitive products and competitive therapies require significant recovery. We're seeing that at 3 months. That's when physicians become believers and adopt the technology. It's a very easy to do procedure, as I mentioned, and we had a very positive safety profile as well. Let me give you a sense of the phase 2 study that we conducted and some of the data from that. Our phase 3 study is identical in nature. And what we did was we took the FDA guidance documentation that has now been published in 2011, and we looked at 2 patient-reported outcomes. We're looking at validated outcomes based on pain and function. The FDA was very clear, as we heard from some of our competitors, that MR and some of the other outcomes may show fiber cartilage, but it doesn't show the type of cartilage that is required to restore function and provide that durable response. So what we're looking at is an improvement in pain, a change from baseline of 12 points in KOOS pain, and roughly 20 points in IKDC subjective function. These are both validated endpoints. What we did was we bumped what was clinically meaningful, because we think the product works so well, and then we applied the dual threshold responder analysis. This is something that you typically will see in oncology and cardiology. The goal here is to tease out the differences in pain and function, because you're going to have patients that come into these trials and they will have restricted their function because they're seeing pain. So they would report very low pain scores, but they're not actually functioning like they normally do. This analysis allows us to tease out those differences and really show that improvement that the FDA is looking for. So what we're looking at is the percentage of responders in that blue box who respond both on pain and function. And in our phase 2 study, on the right-hand side, we recognize this is a bit of an eye chart, but on the right-hand side, we reported in year 1 a 54 percentage point difference between NeoCart responders and microfracture responders, which is the standard of care. In our phase 3 study, the way that the study is powered, we only need to show a 15 percentage point difference. We did not power the study for any level of statistical significance, but we saw that in year 1 and 2. No surprise, as we had some attrition in year 3, you did lose significance. But this data was very powerful, and we saw durability of response over time. I'd also direct you to the left-hand side where you can see the individual patient-reported outcomes in each of those particular patients in the study. So the blue dots represent the NeoCart patients, and the red dots represent the microfracture patients. And what you're going to see is an up and to the right phenomenon with NeoCart. Not only do they respond in the first year, NeoCart patients get better over time. It makes sense. You already have cartilage at the time of implantation. All you're trying to do at that point is integrate. It provides that cushion and that function is required for long-term durability. What you also see with the red dots is microfracture, and it does work in some patients. That's the challenge. Microfracture is highly variable, and in some patients you'll do very well. For a young patient, low BMI, not a very big cartilage defect. The problem is that you still have a 30% re-op rate, and physicians can't predict which of those patients are responders. One example of that is in the right-hand corner in year 2. There's a red dot, which is a microfracture patient. Looks like a great response. When you look at that individual patient, they had 0 response in year 1. That's the challenge for patients. They don't know if it's going to work. It has a long rehab and a lack of consistency, and we think that we provide all of those benefits. As I noted, the company is public. We completed an IPO in December of 2014. This was an upsized public offering where we raised about $70 million. We have a number of opportunities from a milestone perspective on the pipeline side. We're building out our scientific advisory board. We're working closely with Intrexon to potentially take one step, allogeneic cell sources, into our facilities in Boston and start making new NeoCart tissue as early as next year. That would be for a 2nd or 3rd generation therapy, but we're already seeing some great benefits of that. And then, of course, we intend to complete our clinical trial by next summer and take it into a BLA filing in 2017. We've got a great board of directors and investors that have supported us with Sofinova, Fidelity, SplitWrong, among others. And Intrexon is a great strategic partner, and our goal is to complete the clinical trial, build out our manufacturing so that we can support very attractive gross margins upon launch, and make sure that we de-risk from a manufacturing perspective when we think about an FDA inspection. We currently have $45 million in cash as of the last quarter, cash runway into 2017. So we think this is a simple story about execution. Everything is in place, a de-risked clinical platform, a de-risked manufacturing platform, strong reimbursement. This is a $1 billion market opportunity with a product that we think is going to absolutely change the way that patients are looking at these cartilage therapies. You have so many folks that are sitting on the sideline because you don't have long-term durability and a very long recovery. NeoCart changes all of that, and we think that not only will we expand the patient base that are seeking better therapies, we also think that this can be put into a number of different applications. We've got a strong team in place. It's up to us now to execute against that. Thank you for your time.